This is the linear unit part 1, lesson 3, special slopes. Homework that goes along with this is page 8 and 9. We have already written down all of these notes on that sheet of paper that you guys are keeping. Now we're going to put some of the stuff in the red note packet. You should be on page 6. All right. Here we have a line that is rising to the right. So as you read, it's going left to right. And if it is going up, it has a positive slope. And again, we talked about this last week. If you have a line that is going down from left to right, you have a negative slope. And then the other two types of lines are either horizontal, this is horizontal. That slope is 0. And the last line is vertical. And you say it has no slope, or you can write undefined. No slope or undefined. Two other special cases of slopes. Parallel lines have the same slope. Have the same slope. So, for example, slope of line sub 1 is -3. The slope of line sub 2 would also be -3. You could have a slope for line sub 1 is 1/2, and the slope of line sub 2 would also be 1/2. These two are parallel to each other. These two are parallel to each other. Perpendicular lines. First of all, let me put this here. Parallel lines, that's the notation for parallel. Perpendicular is an upside down T. And remember, perpendicular are two lines that intersect and form 90-degree angles. They have slopes that are negative reciprocals. For example, our first line could be 3/4. The slope is 3/4 of line 1. The line that is perpendicular to that, flip this and change the sign, -4/3. These two lines are perpendicular, their slopes are negative reciprocals. Another example would be line sub 1, let's say, is -5. The slope of the lines that are perpendicular to it, flip this so 1/5 and it'll be positive. Those are negative reciprocals. All right, one line passes through the point -1, -2, and 1, 2. Another line passes through the points -2, 0, and 0, 4. Are these lines parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Well, first thing we need to do is find the slope of both lines. So my first line is going to be y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. I'm calling this m sub 1. That's the slope of my first line. My first line goes through these 2 points, and I'm going to label these points x sub 1, y sub 1. This is x sub 2, y sub 2. My first line and both of the points, using our slope formula, will be 2 minus -2 over 1 minus -1. So add the opposite, this is 4. Add the opposite, that's 2. So my slope of my first line is 2. My slope of my second line, m sub 2, second line. This is x sub 1 and y sub 1. This is x sub 2 and y sub 2. And again, I'm going to write my slope formula. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Let's substitute. 4 minus 0 over 0 minus -2. Now, when I substitute, or when I simplify, I will have 4 over 2, which is 2. So, these lines are parallel because their slopes are the same. Lines are parallel. In this problem, I'm just going to tell you right now, when you find the slope of line 1, negative 1, and is perpendicular to the line on the graph? Well, the first thing we're going to do is find the slope of the original line. How do we do that? Well, slope, remember, is rise over run. So I'm going to go to this given line, and I'm going to find two major intersections right here. My slope, if I go from this point to this point, my rise is negative 2 because I'm going down. My run is 1, so my slope is negative 2. Now, we want to draw a graph through the point negative 1, negative 1. So I'm going to change color here. Let's plot the point negative 1, negative 1. And we want the line that is going through that point to be perpendicular to the given line. Well, we know that if the slope of the given line is negative 2, the slope of my perpendicular line, I'm writing perpendicular slope, is going to be the negative reciprocal. So flip this and change the sign. 1/2. Now, I know that my line that I'm looking for goes through the point negative 1, negative 1. I'm going to find my second point by using rise over 1. So, put your pencil on the point negative 1, negative 1. We are rising 1, running 2. Rise 1, run 2. Rise 1, run 2. Right here is my line. That is the line that goes through that point negative 1, negative 1, that is perpendicular to the given line. Now, I'm going to change the directions, and I'm also going to change my color. What if I wanted you to draw a line that goes through this point that is parallel to the given line? We're going to do the same exact thing. Our slope of our original line is negative 2, and really it's best to leave it written as a fraction, negative 2 over 1. So the slope of my parallel line is again going to be negative 2 over 1 because parallel lines have slopes that are equal. So I'm going to put my pencil back on that original point, negative 1, negative 1, and I'm going to rise negative 2. So I'm going to go down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. Here is the graph of the line that is parallel to the given line.